Today I'll be getting rid of the steering wheel shake on my Tahoe, or some people may call it as death wobble. And if you're having similar issues on your truck, let's go ahead and check it out.
One humongous meal later.
So you can tell right there it wiggles a lot. I'm not a mechanic, but I can tell that the pitman arm is not supposed to be that loose. So I'm gonna go ahead and start replacing that. And then after, I can do the idler arm. This is the low profile pitman arm puller. I rented from AutoZone for the job. It's made by OEM Tools and the model number is right there. So I'll remove this shield and also this bottom one just in case they get in the way, but if they don't, I might leave them in place. And these are 15mm screws. I just ended up taking both of the shields off. It made the job way easier. I'm gonna start off by removing this cotter pin and removing this bolt right here. This is a 21mm. That was pretty easy with the impact, but there's the nut right there. I went ahead and put the nut back just a little bit, and I'm gonna try to hammer it with the mallet first. If that doesn't work, then I'll try a puller. I got the puller ready here.
Should have been.
Look at all this floor space.
So
We
much,
do aerobics in here.
so many activities.
I'm gonna try an adjustable wrench right here. Well, that helped out. I actually didn't think it was gonna be that simple, but the mallet helped out. And this right here is a 4-pound mallet. All right, I can see it much better now. So just make sure to put that rubber boot up because you don't want to mess it up. So I'm trying to work on the truck and these squirrels want to play around on the Tahoe. I guess they like it or something. To drop the bar, I did have to remove the nut off the idler arm as well. So I just have it laying right here. And it looks like they might have replaced it, but it feels good, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna replace it right now as well. This one might be the original one. You can see it's real busted, so it moves all around, and no wonder the truck was shaking a lot. I'm just putting a little bit of WD-40 to see if it helps it. To get the puller on the pitman arm, I'm gonna have to loosen up these bolts right here, and also a top one on this section. You can't really see it right now, but they are 21mm. You can see the third one right there. And I just loosened them up. I didn't take them off completely. So the bolt is in there, it's just sticking out, and you can see I got the puller in there. It's a little bit better. So there's the bolts right there. I'm not sure if I'm gonna back it out some more because it is real close to the frame right here. Here on the left, I have my new pitman arm, and on the right side, you can see the one that I just took out, which is factory. They look pretty much the same. This time, I didn't order the HD one because a lot of people complain that they don't fit right or they're too big. And I usually do use it, but I just went ahead and decided to get the standard one on this one. A lot of people think that the HD pitman arm doesn't fit in the factory location because you can still see the splines, but most likely it's because they don't pull the rubber boot down like the factory, which doesn't go all the way up. It just has to be covered up. by the boot. So don't forget to put this piece down, and then it'll cover up all the splines. So it should be like that, and then it'll cover it all. On the left, I have my new idler arm and also the idler arm bracket. I'm just gonna go ahead and replace them since I already unbolted it, and I really don't want to do this all over again. All the parts I ordered are by Moog, and I'm gonna go ahead and link them down below in the description if you guys wanted to check them out. I'm just gonna start off by putting these two together, that way I can put it all in one piece and make it a little bit simpler. I already put on the grease fittings on each one, and they use an 8mm bolt right there. You can see it on the top on this one as well, and the pitman arm. But whenever you do it, you just make sure not to over tighten them because they can break. It would have been better in a vise, but I don't have one right now, and this nut is a 24mm. With my new pitman arm in place, I tighten up the bolts for the gearbox to 110 foot-pounds. The bottom nut on the pitman arm gets tightened up to 184 foot-pounds, so I'm just using my feet as leverage since there's not a lot of space. I don't know if you saw that, but it actually moved. And I had already tightened up earlier, but it's actually still moving, and I thought I had it tight already. When you thought it was tighter, but it actually had a lot of room, and I've already been driving the truck a little bit for a couple of days, so it's been sitting on this weight, and I'm glad I went ahead and retorqued it. But just be careful and check it, make sure it's really tight, because you don't want that to be loose, and it's supposed to be at those 184 foot-pounds. I didn't get to record taking off the idler arm and bracket, but it was real easy to take off. It only has 2 bolts in the front, which are 21mm, and in the back side is 2 nuts, which are the same size, 21mm, and I just had to tighten them back up to 73 foot-pounds. There's a lot of space to take this one apart, and I just had to do it real quick since it's my daily driver. The front bolts can come off with a ratchet and socket. I was able to use my drill. On the back side, you do need an open wrench since it does get close to the compressor, especially on this bottom bolt, but it's way easier taking this off versus the pitman arm. The bottom castle nut on the idler arm and the pitman arm get tightened up to 47 foot-pounds, and I've already put on my cotter pin as well. It feels much better, it's shaking less, so that means next time I gotta work on my tie rods.
16 paranoia-filled days later.
I'll go ahead and replace my inner and outer tie rods to see if I can get rid of that steering wheel shake. On the bottom, it has a 17mm nut, and I've already replaced or removed the cotter pin as well. And I'm just gonna try to take it off as one piece, so that way I can measure it and try to get it as close as possible to the factory alignment, but most likely it'll need an alignment after. I already got my 17mm. The impact just makes it a little bit easier. I put the threaded nut back on so the tie rod doesn't just fly out. For the inner tie rod, I'm gonna be using a 12-inch wrench. I have it fully open and it fits pretty good. This one should pop right out as well. There it is. Well, I think I know why it was still shaking. It's not supposed to hang like this. And if I spin it, it just spins like freely. So yeah, this one definitely needs to be changed out. The puller definitely makes it easier to take off the tie rod, and I can slide it right off. And it's pretty loose, so this one is actually bad, the same as the driver's side. I thought this one was actually good, but it's actually bad, so I'm gonna have to replace both of them. The back part of the tie rod is the one that's a little bit harder to take off because of the leverage, but I'm gonna see if I can try to use my foot or something. I got the wrench on, but since it's real tight, sometimes I like to use my feet with some old shoes for leverage since there's not a lot of space. and it usually works out for me, but it's kind of I got my replacement tie rods right here. I've already done the driver's side. This is just the passengers, but I'm gonna leave the nut in the middle loose so I can adjust my toe, and later I do need to take it to get aligned, but I'm just gonna try it out for myself right now. On my Tahoe, the driver's side was the worst. The tie rod was super loose, and then also the pitman arm. This one on the passengers, I can move it. It's not supposed to move, so I am replacing it, and also the outer tie rod, since they are kind of old, even though that these are still pretty good, like they don't move, they're tight. I tightened up my inner tie rods as tight as I could, but if you can or have the tool, you can tighten it up to 74 foot-pounds. I have both of my tie rods installed. On the bottom nut, I tightened it up to 37 foot-pounds and already added the grease feedings and some grease on both ends. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and try to adjust the tie rod so I can get my toe a little bit more straight, because my steering wheel's looking crooked. So I just left this one loose, and I'm gonna go ahead and lower it and adjust it. If I go up, it'll make the wheel turn in. If I go down, it should make the wheel stick out a little bit more. So I'll go ahead and adjust it. The passengers feels good. Now the driver's feels much better, so it's not wiggling how it was. So it should be good, but I still gotta adjust it and try it out on the road. My steering wheel is straight, and I'll go ahead and show you on the outside how it looks right now. The driver tire looks nice and straight, but on the passenger side, you can see it's angled a little bit. So I'm still gonna have to get it aligned, but I'm just gonna go ahead and try to wing it real quick. To adjust it, I have the truck on the floor so it can have all its weight on, and I'm just using this 13mm wrench. It's actually pretty simple to move. You can see it moves right there. So you can just go up or down depending on if you need more toe in or toe out. Mine's is good here, so I'm just gonna lock this nut, and later I can get the real alignment. I got the steering wheel as straight as I could for now, and it's been driving pretty good. I haven't taken it to the alignment shop. You can see the wheels. It's pretty straight on the driver's side. And now on the left side, the passenger was the one that was sticking out a lot. So not too bad for a alignment that's not like in a shop. To make this job easier, just remember that to remove the pitman arm, you do have to loosen up the bolts on the gearbox. Not completely take them all off, but just loosen them up, and that'll let you wiggle the pitman arm out of place. And you do want to use a puller for this job. As soon as I changed out my pitman arm, I drove it around, and it pretty much got rid of all the shake, but there was still a slight amount, and that's why I ended up changing out the tie rods. And now it rides much better, but I still do want to change out some of the front suspension, like the shocks and upper control arms, since they have the ball joints and all that, and I'm pretty sure they're original as well. Right now I'm just waiting to do the full suspension, that way I can get the rest of the parts that are missing, like the ball joints, upper control arms, and they usually come together, so that's why it'll save me some time and money instead of doing it twice by replacing one ball joint or one shock, and I'll just have to end up changing them again if I lower the suspension or raise it. If you found this video helpful or you like this content, don't forget to like and share. And if you want to see some more cool upgrades on the Tahoe, check out the next video here.